Hello, my name is Ian. I do things, and this past few days, maybe a week or so, I have been afflicted by night terrors. Um, Basically, at night, when it's dark, I'll imagine these creatures that don't exist, of course, but they will stand in the corner of my room, or they will feel like as if they are bearing over me, or just somewhere out of the way, always watching. And it's made for some very restless nights. Let's put it like that. I guess the impetus of this sort of thing would have been the viewing of Freedom Faller by Alex Kansas. I don't Kansas. I don't remember his last name. But I remember the first name is Alex, and he does the series about monuments, and it's this horror, sort of analog horror kind of series. And one of the videos, Freedom Faller, has this girl depict this statue in such a way where I got a little paper here to show you, where the face is just these two slits of eyes. Like that. These two slits of eyes. And this freaks me out, okay? Because for a long time, I've had, okay, a little bit of context. When I was in 4th grade, I read this book, from this series, like, I think it was Dragons of Deltora, and this book at Shadowgate or something. I don't remember. I don't really care to look it up and re-see it, but it was about this group of people being chased by this ethereal green glowing mask that was really very much like this, except it had a mouth and a more nose, and it was more oval. But it would sort of like steal the essence of people through their faces. And later that night, I had a nightmare in which I was in a big, vast, empty white room, and the two of the characters from the story were there, and they were looking at this green Mardi Gras mask, like this. Like this. It's currently 1:06 in the morning, so that's gonna go off like this. But of course, a bit better than that. And it was standing, and it was in the corner, just kind of floating there. The two people leave, they escape, and the green mask noticed me, and starts flying towards me. And so I book it down the set of stairs, and it becomes this sort of kaleidoscope spiral of just multicolored masks flying at me. And then I woke up. So ever since then, I always had an aversion to those kinds of masks. Like Dreams Mask is fine. I'm fine with that. But this kind of mask, these two kind of masks, when they're just by themselves, no. So those, but basically, this kind of entity now haunts not haunts, but sort of is always ever present in my mind and freaks me out. And now there are other creatures, some that I can remember from early on in my childhood, and more recent ones that have now popped into my head that I think pull inspiration from other things. One of these early creatures I'll try to describe, but it has these pointy ears, very sharp, very pointy, and this sort of diamond-shaped head mouth thing. It's kind of like a bat, almost. And it's got this long, gangly body. And it's really, really tall. Typical, typical three-legged, three-toed, kind of dealio here. And really, really long arms that sort of just slouch on down here. And these creatures, again, three-toed kind of situation. These creatures are really all really all pitch black. And it floats in like sort of this kind of state and is actually quite passive. And it's only like if you get near it that its mouth sort of opens up. And I think the inspiration that comes behind this creature is, I think like that sort of, first enemy that, in the game Deltarune that you face, where it's sort of been plugged in and it's sort of hunched over like that, floating. And these, creatures called, I think they were, these mice-human hybrid blind creatures from the book All Tomorrows, I guess really were big behind that. Another thing that really gives me is like these sort of faceless creatures, or really simplified faced creatures. So there's this one guy. His face is just a simple oval. But his eyes are these pitch black holes that almost seem to stretch. And like his whole face can stretch, okay? it like contorts and widens, stretching. It stretches lengthways, not widthways. Okay, and it almost seems like it could swallow you whole. And he wears, he always appears. He's in a trench coat. He's like, I don't know how to draw a trench coat. Almost like, yes, as if you were like a private detective. Really, but no, he's not a private detective. He's just a terrifying creature. Like, something like that. Okay. There's a few more, animalistic, like, creatures. There's these sort of very humanoid, um, skin tight, pale, pale like creatures that just crawl across the ground. It's very unnatural, like how they do it. But the thing is, it's like they look like humans. So I'm like drawing them now. But they don't, my drawings don't, of course, do justice. And their faces are blank except for these large sets of really sharp teeth. And they always chase you on the ground. It's like, and it's all outside, really. I always imagine these things happening outside. Well, except for the mass things. Those are always in here. But like, these creatures float around outside. This guy, he appears like at lampposts in the light like that. He just stands there and stares at you. And you see like his mouth get bigger and bigger until it almost like it's getting closer and bigger at the same time. And these creatures, they roam around as well, like this one. I'd consider these two creatures more similar, as they're more animal-like, while this one can think and like has sentient life. And then there's this one creature that I remember from like earliest like nightmare memory kind of thing. I was in my crib, and I remember this just shady, dark creature, complete darkness. Just sort of come into the room I was sleeping. And it had two red glowing eyes and no head. The glowing eyes were like on its body. And it came over and it picked me up and it just took me down the hallway to the doorway where like my grandparents saying we were at my grandparents' house. And that, for some reason, that's like the earliest thing I can, one of the earliest things that still sticks with me is because I remember just being absolutely terrified. There, I don't even remember if I don't think it had a mouth at all. I don't recall. There is one more thing, though, at least. Well, two more. I just remembered another one. There's a little, running out of space, almost like mummy-like man. He's the most recent one. He kind of just sort of floats. He floats above in this sort of state like this, where he's almost like his body's stiff with rigor mortis, but his face is just abject, like, horror, and he just it's like he just floats over the bed. And like the only true solace, really, from all of this, is there's sort of this guide, that kind of keeps my mind safe, keeps it moving, keeps it going, and doesn't let, like, when I'm, like, trying to fall asleep, and also just trying to avoid the darkness of the room, like, I'll pull up the covers. I know, I mean, I've been hearing myself, like, speak like this for this past couple minutes, and it sounds crazy, and it's like, come on, Ian, you're 20 years old, grow up. There's nothing in the darkness, there's nothing to be afraid about. But for some reason, my mind is just really adamant that there are. So anyway, there's this guide. I call him the cyclist because, well, that's what he is. He's this road cyclist that'll show up. You don't see his face. It's not like, you try and look at it. I try and, like, look at his face, but I can't see a face, really. It's like it's like my eyes just, like, pass over it. I paused to draw this bicycle, and it's a really bad bicycle. But, okay. So, he has this bright neon yellow helmet on. He's got his face, and then he's got this almost like IKEA blue jacket that he wears. And he looks like a racer. Like, he's always moving fast and such. And, I don't really, like, look down at his legs. But I think he wears shorts. Like, probably, like, bicyclist shorts. Okay, hold on. The bicycle too. There. The bicycle, I made the bicycle to cyclist ratio better. But that's the guy. Well, yeah, he is a guy. He looks like a guy that comes in and sort of just like leads me out. I'll like get in a car or like some sort of fast moving vehicle, and he'll sort of guide me along this road, and away from these creatures until I eventually fall asleep. But that's about it. This thing, this this mask that hasn't bothered me in a bit, I will say. This one, because it just, we don't have it around anymore. It used to be based on like a real green Mardi Gras mask that we had. This one, like, it'll flash in my eyes and like my mind won't stop thinking about it. And even though I want to, it like makes it think about it more, you know. Well, sometimes it's like that. Sometimes it's like it has this ghostly body, almost like this individual. I don't really have names for these creatures. So, you know what? I'm gonna name them right now. So, we have the cyclist. We've got the mask. This guy. I'm gonna call him Smiles. I'm gonna call it Smiles. I'm gonna call this Floater. I'm gonna call this an Echo Mouse. And probably like a skin crawler, because that's what like tight on the skin and crawls all on the ground. So there you go. Skin crawler, floater, Echo Mouse, Smiles, this black figure. This is the giant, the mask, and then the cyclist. Thank you for, if you have made it this far, for listening to me expunge on these things that have been messing with me. And if you want to take these things and make them into like proper creatures, you can go right ahead. Just don't send them to me, because I'd rather not be freaked out anymore. Thank you for watching, and hope you enjoyed.